Hey guys, what's up? In this video, I'm going to be talking about all the steps that you need to take after you adopt a child through foster care. I wanted to make this video because there's so much information and content out there surrounding foster care adoptions, how to get started, how to navigate through it, but there was not much about what happens after you adopt a child through foster care, and I think this is just as important. If you're new here, my name is Christy. I have adopted 5 children through foster care, and the most recent one was in October 2019, the adoption of my 4- and 5-year-old daughters. So I have a little experience 5 times adopting through foster care. There are many different ways to adopt a child, but I'm only going to be speaking for foster care adoption. I'm sure that infant domestic adoption is pretty similar paperwork wise, but obviously international adoption is going to be a completely different process. If I can find some current information on these type of adoptions, I'll go ahead and link it below. But I am personally going to be speaking about what happens after a foster care adoption. If you're interested in learning more about my foster care to adoption journey, I'll put the links below where I took you through my crazy emotional foster care to adoption journey. It was a wild one, but it really gives you a real and raw perspective on what you can expect adopting through foster care. So the number one thing I wanted to say is that when you adopt through foster care, when you go and get the final signature from the judge, you're gonna get some different documents. I have my girls' documents here of my most recent adoption. Number one, you're going to be getting an adoption order. This adoption order states, the adopted parents' names, addresses, and the new name of your foster child. So you can pick a new name or completely your choice with the foster care adoption. It is definitely a misconception that you are not allowed to change the name, but you can keep the same name. You can choose a new one. You can, as the new parents, you can do whatever you please. So the adoption order actually has the new name, the birth date, the age, the county, the place where the child was born, the date of the hearing of when the adoption was finalized, as well as the social worker and many other different things. But this adoption order is what gets sent to the county clerk, and the adoption actually gets recorded. The second piece of paperwork that you're going to be receiving is adoption expenses form. This details all the expenses that you paid or incurred while trying to adopt the child. So with foster care adoptions, the expenses are going to be little to none, but there is small court filing fees, things like that, but most of the time for foster care adoptions, they're waived, but this just states it all. And then the last piece of paperwork you're going to be receiving, and the most important, is the adoption agreement. This is such an important piece of paperwork. This is the one that you're going to want to make 1,000,000 copies of and keep in multiple places. And I mean, I personally keep one in my purse, in my glove box, everywhere. This says that this child is now your child. It has the same rights as a biological child. You're gonna need this when getting a new birth certificate, getting a new social security card, keep it for tax reasons, things like that. Switching names at schools. This states the old name, the new name, and pretty much says that you are now the responsible parties. You are their legal guardians from now on out. All the adoption order, agreement, expense sheet, all that stuff, you're going to be receiving originals, so I really encourage you to make multiple copies and put them in different areas. I keep the originals in my safe. So normally with the foster care adoption, you receive them on the spot as soon as you sign them and leave the courthouse. That was how it was with my first 3 adoptions. With this particular county, which we adopted the girls from, I ended up receiving it about 3 weeks to a month in the mail afterwards. I'm not sure why, but every county is different, but just make sure you ask and don't forget your paperwork if it is ready at the courthouse. Now, as far as the birth certificate goes, it can happen a couple different ways, but normally a new birth certificate will come in the mail. It really varies on time. I've got it as soon as 3 weeks up to about 4 months. So just be patient. You will get a new birth certificate in the mail. It will have the adopted parents' names on it. I know that's very strange, and I actually don't really agree with that. I feel like there should be some type of a birth certificate that's amended that says, you know, this is an adoption birth certificate, but it is what it is. A new birth certificate is created from scratch with the adoptive parents. So basically it's stating that the adoptive parents gave birth to the child. It's really strange. I get some funny looks when we're going on a cruise, you know, with my African-American adopted kids, and I'm showing the birth certificate, but it is what it is. That's just how they do it. The new birth certificate you will receive in the mail will have your birth, will have the adoptive parents and the new name of the child listed. As far as the Social Security card, what I do is as soon as I receive the new birth certificate, I take that along with the adoption agreement and I go down to the Social Security office and I ask for a Social Security card. The card will come in a couple weeks after you order it, and it will have the new names on it. You can ask to have a new Social Security number completely if that is what you feel most comfortable with, but you do not have to change the Social Security number. If you are very eager for tax reasons and you do not have the Social Security number and you really want to obtain it quickly for tax reasons, you can take your placement paperwork and your adoption agreement in before you receive your birth certificate and get the Social Security card. They will give it, sometimes depending on the clerk, they will give you the Social Security number on the spot, but they won't write it down for you. They will just show you a piece of paper and you're gonna have to take note yourself of it. I know it's kind of strange, but I wanna warn you that not all Social Security clerks will do that. I did that for tax reasons with mine before I even received the birth certificate, before they were actually adopted. So that's another thing I want to talk about. If you do have a foster child that's been in your home for a day over 6 months of that year, you are legally able to claim that foster child. So for example, if you received your child in April 2019, you can claim them on your 2019 taxes. If the child was placed with you in October, let's say, of 2019, you cannot. You understand? So it has to be a day over 6 months they were placed with you within that tax year. But another thing is for a baby that was born, let's say it was born November 1st, 2019, if that baby was with you for the whole rest of the year until December 31st, you can claim that baby on your taxes. So the baby has to be born in that year and with you for the entire rest of the year, or the child has to be placed with you for a day over 6 months in that year. So basically a majority of the year that child needs to be placed with you. You do need the Social Security number of the foster child to be able to claim them on your taxes. That's why a lot of foster parents go in with just the placement paperwork and pray and hope that they can get the Social Security number, but it's not always a given. Sometimes it's really difficult to get it from the workers. If you're trying to get it, maybe it's not working with the worker, I suggest you contacting the eligibility worker, which is in charge of like their medical and legal paperwork, things like that. Sometimes you can obtain it through them. Since we're on the topic of taxes, you can file for an adoption tax credit when you adopt a child. And this is roughly around $13,000 in California. I don't know if it's different in other states, but here in California, it's around $13,000. Oh, if I have the exact number, I will go ahead and put it down below here. But a good thing to remember is it is not cash in hand. It will cover the tax liability up to that $13,000 or whatever the tax credit is at the time. It does fluctuate. So it's not cash in hand, it just relieves some of your tax liability, and you can carry over for a certain amount of years. I believe it's 5 years top, but I'll go ahead and put it down below if I can find it. After you've received all the adoption paperwork, you've got a new birth certificate, you've got a new Social Security card, and you're able to file them on your taxes. The next thing is medical. When you adopt a child through foster care, they are automatically enrolled in Medi-Cal. It does go from foster care Medi-Cal to adoption assistance Medi-Cal, and it's for medical and for dental, but a lot of times parents prefer to put them on their own insurance, which is fine. How we did it is we kept the Medi-Cal for the medical, and we put our children on my husband's dental plan because the providers in our area were so much better. We did not like the experience we had with our dental Medi-Cal providers, but we loved the medical doctor that we were able to use through the Medi-Cal, so we just switched the dental. But they are double covered. You can do that. They are double covered just in case there's a major surgery or something like that that they're going to need in the future. I like to keep both medical just in case. A lot of people drop Medi-Cal completely, but I really encourage you to keep it because you just never know. When my daughter was younger, she had some heart surgeries and Medi-Cal covered it completely, all of it, and it was like over $45,000. So it does not hurt to stay double covered if you can. Next is school. If your child is enrolled in a school, you're going to want to go ahead and change the school records now that you are their parents, and if they change their name, it's good to change the name with the school as well. This does mean that you may lose some services that you received when the child was a foster child, and now that they're adopted, you may not qualify. For example, school lunches. Foster children automatically can receive school lunches. You can try to get re-qualified with your own household income. You may or may not qualify, but just keep that in mind. Also with childcare or preschools, for example, when our kids were foster children, they did receive subsidized childcare or preschool, which covered all of it, which was amazing. But now that they're adopted, they do not qualify. Sometimes families will, but you're gonna have to re-qualify with your family income and not just the stipend that your foster child received before the adoption was finalized. So keep that in mind, that you may have to look for a different preschool or you may have to start paying out of pocket. That is if you do not qualify income-wise for that program. Beside all the legal things and medical and all that grown-up stuff, I really encourage you to gather as much information as you can about the child before they came into your home. Gather as much baby pictures as I can. I feel like sometimes the biological parents tend to take those down. There's been many instances where I've experienced where they take down things because they just kind of want to move on from that time in their life, as sad as that is. So now is the time to gather as much information as you can. I like to write letters to my children. I actually set up an email for each of them, and when I'm feeling some sort of way or I want to tell them how much I love them, how much I care about them, I write emails to them, and I have emails for each of my children that I'm going to be giving to them when they're older so they can look back at all of the emails that I wrote to them. If I find a baby picture, I shoot it to their email so they always have that. I have made an adoption book for each of my children, and all the baby pictures and letters that I have found from their birth family or any important information I like to put into their book in addition to putting it into each of their emails. I just feel like this is the time to gather these things before you can no longer do it. This is the time when things are fresh in your memory, and you don't want those baby pictures that may be stored on your phone to get lost in the shuffle. What if you lose your phone or something happens with your iCloud? It's really good to document as much as you can, paper and electronically through the email. So that is my big tip for you guys, and I encourage you to do it. There's such special memories and such important information that it would be devastating if you were to lose that stuff. So as much as you can, while it's fresh in your memory, save those things, print out pictures, make a photo album for your child, and put it into emails and such. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I didn't miss anything. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below and I will answer it if I can, or I will direct you where you can find that information. Keep in mind, I adopted only from California. So, you know, state by state, things in the process and the steps may be a little bit differently. That is about it. I really hope that this was an informative video for you guys and give you a little insight on what to expect and what to do after you adopt through foster care. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next video.